This podcast is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Out of the Ashes presents Missing Dad.
I might have ended up on the wrong side of the tracks if Pops wouldn't have pulled me back and said, yo.
Each episode is a thought-provoking interview with people across all walks of life to see how they were affected by missing key pieces in their relationship with their
I
dad.
told him as a youngster, he'll be the greatest man alive.
And now your hosts, Coley Harris and Amar Melton.
Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Missing Dad. I'm your co-host Amar Melton.
And I'll be the other co-host, Mr. Coley Harris.
And today we have with us a guest who is a member of the ACLU Smart Justice Campaign, the executive director of the Game Changers, somebody who is not shy or steers away from some of the work that needs to be done in our wonderful city of Wilmington, Delaware. But he's also a father of two, Mr. Dubar McGriff.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming, brother. We're glad to have you here.
It's a great introduction.
So, what's going on with you today? I see you suited and booted. Where you coming from?
Well, today was the first day of the second half of our legislation session here in Delaware. So I just came from our state capital, Dover, just meeting and greeting and talking with the legislators, the state reps and senators about this upcoming session and some of the bills that we got going on, and just hoping and making sure everybody is on board to do the right thing.
Okay, nice. How did you? We was talking before the podcast came on and just talking about some of the legislation and things that's going on in the state of Delaware. But how did you even get involved with that?
It's so crazy. I think I got involved on accident and just by passion. Growing up, I grew up on the northeast side of Wilmington, 24th Street. I was street affiliated majority of my life. It's sort of like the game chose me. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I would sit on my front steps and just see everything, and I was involved at a young age. So it was just like, people have choices, but I think this lifestyle of being street orientated, it really just fell on my lap.
When you say a young age, how old?
Since I remember, like, my grandmom actually used a bootleg out the house, and my uncles and them hustled, and I lived on 24th Street. It was like an open air market drug sale type of place, and it was just my everyday living,
Yeah.
It was just like, that's just the way it was.
I mean, how did that, growing up in that environment, how did it impact you, the person that you are, and, just the decisions that you made growing up?
Growing up, well, I wanted to be a kingpin. I wanted to be the man in the hood. I love my community so much. That's all I really wanted. I wanted to be somebody that my community could be proud of. And at the time, I thought that was, having the most money and selling drugs and having that good street rep and all that stuff. So I think I did a lot of the things for the love of the community, the love of the hood.
Yeah. Okay.
You mentioned your grandma. I'm assuming you stayed with her growing up?
Well, I was sort of bounced around. My mom, majority of the time, my mom raised me for the most part.
Okay.
My mom, she dealt with addiction a lot in her life. Loving mother, she was always there, but I was sort of bounced around between my grandmother and my great-grandmother. So between those three, that's where I got a lot of, that's who raised me.
What was your relationship like with your dad coming up?
Well, my dad, he was killed when I was 13 years old in 97. A lot of my life he was in the feds, and it was there. I loved him, but I really didn't have the chance to really build that father-son relationship with him. And he passed away soon. He passed away early in my life, so yeah, that's sort of the relationship.
Yeah. So who would you say kind of filled that role in your life? The father figure role.
I would say the guys I looked up to in the streets, and the things I've seen on TV, like the fabulous life of rappers, and just doing stuff like that. That's what I really modeled my life after.
Yeah, that's tricky, man. Because them rappers, when you growing up, I remember for a while Snoop Dogg. I wanted to be like Snoop for a while.
You wanted to be
never knew
Snoop.
that.
You wanted to be Snoop more.
I remember in the 3rd grade, man. Snoop was the man. I said, all right, this is where we might need to go. But
Snoop was the man. I looked up to Jay-Z a lot. I was more on I told you, I thought I was going to be the biggest drug dealer and kingpin growing up. I wanted to be rich. So I listened to a lot of that, and that was a big influence.
So looking up to these guys, so you looked up to the guys in the community, right? In your neighborhood, on your block. And what type of picture did they paint for you?
Well, it's kind of crazy. Like growing up in my younger years, it was like all love. Everybody had money. Everybody looked out. They would throw parties and Price's Pool. That's over in my neighborhood. It's over in the Northeast between the projects and where I'm from, the other side of the park. We all would get together, have different type of events. It was just like all love then. And I can remember as I got older, around 16, a lot of those guys were taken away out the neighborhood, and I guess that's when the results of the crack epidemic start really hitting the fan. So a lot of people, they turned into addicts, and a lot of the guys that were leaders, strong leaders in the community, they were taken out. So about time I got 16, there wasn't really anyone to look up to, and we were sort of making it up as we went along, and it caused a lot of devastation. So around the time when I turned 16, we were into robbing people because, like I said, a lot of around that time, a lot of the guys that were making the money and doing positive things and community orientated, they were taken out or they were killed or they were just caught up in the crack epidemic. So we sort of just were like bandits around the time.
Yeah, it's funny. I asked you that because I remember hearing an interview, and it resonated with me when I heard it. I believe it was Mahershala Ali, and he was on a interview on NPR talking about his character in Moonlight. I can't remember the character's name. But anyway, Mahershala Ali, he talked about growing up and being split between living in the East Coast and the West Coast, and he talked about the drug dealers in the neighborhood, and the hustlers in the neighborhood, and he told a story that I really resonated with about how these guys oftentimes were, protective factors for lack of a better word, and
Yes.
didn't encourage people to get involved in that lifestyle. We looked up to them. I'm a few years older than you, so but I looked up to the hustlers in the neighborhood as well. But these guys really would oftentimes try to discourage people from getting involved in the streets and things of that nature, and would just look out, as opposed to trying to exploit you. So I was just wondering about that.
Good old days.
So you said your dad was in the feds, right?
Yeah.
For your younger years, what hurdles did you face not having him in your life, and was it obvious to you right away, like, oh, my dad's not here, and I can contribute X, Y, and Z to him not being here? Like, did it make your life more difficult?
I didn't think about it like that because when I grew up, a lot of people didn't have fathers.
Okay.
So it was normal. To be honest, it was like strange to have a father in the house. You would look at the person with the 2-parent household and be like, wow, they got it sweet in there. Not knowing, what was going on inside the household. But if you had a 2-parent household in my community growing up, you were like the Huxtables. Like it was non-existent almost.
Yeah, it's. I hear you say that, but then I look at you, and coming from not like I've been around you, and I've seen the way that you, particularly your younger daughter, I've seen how you parented her, and I can remember times we was at the program, and you have your daughter with you and doing her homework. You were working and going to school, right? And you have your daughter over there doing her homework and playing and interacting with the other kids, but you really took care of her. And at different times, I know you were a single father. Where did you get that fatherhood? Where did you pick that stuff up at? How did you know how to be a good father? Because you look like a damn good father to me.
Thank you. I
know what I mean?
appreciate it. I
Yeah,
definitely
man.
appreciate that, Coley, coming from you. That means a lot. I'm gonna be honest. My love for the little girl. I was there when she was born. My oldest daughter, when she was born, I was incarcerated. And me and her mom was young, and it wasn't really a lot of love. Well, I loved her. She loved me. We were young. We really didn't know what was going on. So the bond wasn't there, but it's there now. You know, I missed a lot of
Right.
her first couple years. So my youngest daughter came along. Me and her mom was there. I was there throughout the whole pregnancy. I was there when she was born. And when she was born, you know, I held her up in the air like on Roots, said said Shahada, you know, I said
Yeah.
the Shahada to her, and I immediately fell in love with her. You
Wow.
know, so it was there. It was there. And I want to give Coley a shout out. I remember Coley helped me out a lot. He's like he's one of my mentors, man. He's a father figure to me, man. We got to share him more. We got to share him more. Nah, I remember, you might don't remember this, Coley. I was working for RDC on the riverfront. I was helping picking up trash. I don't know where you were going. We just ran into you. Like, what you doing, man? Nah, you too smart to be doing this. We got to
Yeah.
find you something else. And I promise you, it had to be probably a week later. You like, I got a spot for you over at the youth empowerment program. What you want to
Yeah.
do? And around the time, it was a struggle. My daughter's mom, she was incarcerated. That's when I had Samaya. We was going house to house, and you really gave me something stable and encouraging, supported me at a time when I really needed it. Both of us needed it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Oh man, ain't nothing but love, man. Nothing but.
How old are you when you had your first daughter?
I was 19 when my first daughter was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What went through your mind when you found out, like, oh, I'm getting ready to be a dad?
I ain't think I could have kids. I was locked up since I was like 16. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I don't think just me being young, thinking like, I don't know. I don't think this baby is mine.
Oh.
But she came out like,
Wait, so you were 19 when you had her? So you had
yeah, I came home for 2 months
Oh,
and I
okay.
violated and made the baby.
Yeah.
I came home for 2 months, and during that 2 month period, I knew my daughter's mom. We kind of grew up together.
Right.
We got together, and I found out she was pregnant when I was in jail. I was
Okay.
only home for 2 months, and I came home to a daughter. Came home to a family, actually. Like,
Yeah.
we were living the whole family life, and I was young. Well, my mentality was still at 16 because I was locked up for so many years that
Right.
I didn't want to settle down, and I kind of messed up that relationship.
So you come home to this daughter, right, and this family,
Yes.
and you found out about her when you were down. What went through your mind when you were down and you found out, like, oh, I got a daughter now? Like, what was your mind racing? Or how'd you feel? Were you anxious?
I was nervous, but I still was in doubt. Like, I don't think I could have kids. Like, like I was a kid, more like real rap. So I kind of knew she was mine because Brittany's a good girl,
Yeah.
and I know that she wasn't on no bullshit. It was just my own sort of like not knowing life. I just didn't know. I just didn't know.
Right. So you go ahead.
No, I was go ahead. I was just looking at I read something this morning about, and I was thinking about you and the perception that people often have about black fathers, right? And Centers for Disease Control did a study, and basically they said that black pops is killing it. Like, we more engaged with our children, you know what I mean? Have more contact, more contact taking children, you know what I mean, back and forth to school, um, better relationships, and all of these different things. And you know what I mean, I see you, and I know, you know what I mean, your background. You spoke about have some challenges, and coming back out. But I seen, I met you on the other side, and you come back out facing all these challenges, and you still was a good dad, man. Like, what is it, man, what is that thing, man, that makes you, you know what I mean, and other young brothers like yourself, like, buckle down and be good dads? Because you see it all the time. They talk about, we hear the stereotypes about the absent black fathers. And yeah, there are some black fathers missing, but there's a whole lot of I see young black men, and whether they struggling or not, man, they out here, trying to do the best to take care of their children, man. Where did you know what I mean, where does that come from?
I would say I would always think back to myself. I always use myself. I would think back at like thinking like Thorn. I would remember sometimes when at school when you'll have a show or something and people's parents would come. My parents wouldn't come. They had my mom had a lot of stuff going on. She was
Mhm.
sort of, she had her addiction going on. And I would also look at like all types of things like Thorn. I gotta be here for this little girl. Nobody else is gonna do it like I'm gonna do it. So I really felt like I really honestly felt that she was my responsibility. It was up to me to make sure she lives good and she turns out good.
Wow.
Both of them.
What's the age difference between your oldest and your youngest?
3 years.
3 years. So over that time, how did you evolve as a father?
Whoa, I evolved so much as a father. Like I promise you, I remember just partying and being in the streets and all that stuff. I would buy my daughters all types of extravagant things, gold and earrings, and get their hair done and things like that. But when it was weekend time to get them, I would take them to my sister's house. And my oldest daughter, mom, she's very she's very protective. So she's like, "Don't drop my daughter off here. Don't do this. Don't do that." And one of my friends owns a hair shop. She would always tell me, "Don't drop my daughter off to the hair shop to get her hair done." I'm just thinking like, "Oh, she thinking I'm messing with one of the girls or whatever." But it was like she knew things that I didn't know. She was raised in a 2-parent household, and she sort of had it figured out. And I was immature and didn't know, like, exposing kids to different situations and things like that, what that can do.
Yeah.
And so I sort of took her lead of the things that she did with my first daughter and sort of implemented it with my youngest daughter, because she didn't have that. I guess I was that for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I answer your question? It's like I talked about something totally different.
No, that answered. So tell me more. Like, what things did you implement more with like your younger daughter that you learned from the experience of having your oldest daughter?
Time,
Spending time.
showing her love, telling her she's beautiful, just
Right.
really getting into her, stepping into her world,
Right.
and bringing her into mine. Being transparent, letting her know that I didn't have a father. I had a mom, and just being transparent with her and making her be grateful. Be grateful that she has 2 good parents, both of them, 2 good parents, and that really cares.
Yeah. I was listening to you talk about how you were trying to be a good father, but were doing, doing things that, dropping your kids off and things of that nature, and what you thought was the best thing. And I can remember when I was young, I was 18 when Mara was born, and I can remember I used to have him in a stroller, and like I wouldn't be out there, doing my thing, but I would have him down there with me. We sitting in the park, he a baby in a stroller. I'm sitting down there drinking and things of that nature, because in my mind I'm thinking that we spending time together, and that's okay. But at the same time, not realizing, the stuff that I'm exposing them to, and we had quality
Yeah.
time together. We did have some quality time together, but I can also remember being young and want to get out. Back then the Thunder Guards was jumping.
Oh yeah.
So I'm taking him and putting him in the bed with
Thunderguards.
putting him in the bed with my mom and my dad, and I'm going to run down the street to the Thunder Guards, and I'm coming back in, and I'm saucy, and I get up in the morning and feed him, and we do a thing like that. It's just, I'm just thinking about evolution. Looking back on it, it's like, how did I not know that wasn't the right way to go with it?
And you think it's normal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in my situation, I was dropped off as a child a lot, so I'm just like, okay, you're a grandmom now, and this is what you're supposed to do, But so that was sort of my thing too. Like, you dropped us off at my mom's house. It's time, we going, one of those type of things.
So with the father-daughter relationship, right? So you said transparency is key. How old are your daughters now?
I have a 12-year-old, and one's about to be 15 in like next week.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
So-
one's about to be 15 like next week. So, what did you say, Mar?
No, I was getting the ages because I wanted to ask you this. So you said transparency is key. Now you got a preteen and you got a teenager. How are you evolving as a father now? Where now they're not little girls no more. They going through different challenges and different stage of life, and you got to be there for them. What does that look like for you now?
Yes, periods, and they got breasts and all types of stuff going on. I'll just be all the way transparent. I'll have some real conversations with my daughters. It may seem crazy. I just let them know that, listen, I was a young man once, and I talk about sex with them. You know what I mean? I'm the reason why I do that, because I did this event with at Sandra Pitt's event and Sharice's event called Girls Can Do Anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a guest speaker there, and it was all girls my daughter's age and things like that. So it was like an open forum. They could ask me anything I want. All their questions was about boys and sex.
Wow.
And I'm like, I was literally shocked. Like, whoa, like this is the stuff my daughters are thinking about. And one little girl was like, I try not to think about boys, but it just can't, I just can't help it. And Sharice was like, well, it's natural. So she put it in context for the little girls, which put it in context for me. And I'm just like, whoa, I need to talk to my daughters about everything. You hear me? So we had those talks, and my oldest daughter, she's at that age where she's interested in boys and they're talking on the phone and things like that. So I just let her know that, listen, a young man will be happy to have sex. It don't matter if he loves you, if he cherished the ground you walk in or whatever. He's going to tell his friends what he did. It's just the way it is, just having those type of conversations of them, really cherishing themselves and knowing that people may not have malicious intents, but people are proud of things they do. You know what I mean? The first time a guy loses virginity, he's going to tell a lot of people, and that's just the way it goes. It's nothing against you. It's nothing against anyone. It's just how it goes. So choose wisely, and just like, I try to get them the things that they need, just so they can know, like, you don't have to go outside of dad to get anything. It's all right here. And just letting them know I'm open for conversation. And not, even if they do say some crazy stuff, I let it try to flow off my back. Take a breath in, and I listen. And I give them the best advice I can.
And the love.
Yes.
Just, giving them love, showing them real love. That means everything. That means everything. I want to give a shout out to Sharice Lockett with RAM, and also with Chandra Pitts with One Village Alliance, two sisters in Wilmington, Delaware, doing their thing, particularly with young ladies.
Y'all open my eyes about parenting a lot with that one.
So let me hit you with this one. So you work with the ACLU on the Smart Justice campaign. You do you have the Game Changers. You do a lot of things. You've been with PAR. Do PAR, Participatory Action Research. You all over the place. You're a man of the people. How do you think, or what impact do you think society is having on fatherhood in general, on fathers and fatherhood in general, and then on Black fathers?
That the world is having, I think honestly, fathers are underrated. Period. When it comes to parenting, fathers are underrated, and they don't get the I guess they don't get the gratitude that they should get. And it is some not so good fathers out there, but a lot of the times fathers get dogged. And I could speak to the what was the other half?
It just I was asking, what impact do you think society is having on fatherhood in general, and then what impact do you think that the larger society in the United States is having on Black fathers?
Oh yeah, I think that as far as Black fathers, I think the United States say that we're non-existent. I think that the United States has this. I think that the United States has this type of I guess stigma that they put out all over the media, that they get in people's head, that Black men just aren't existent. Like every mother is a single mother, and things like that. And what that does, in my opinion, I see it a lot. I see mothers saying, I am the mother and the father.
Right.
I hold it down by my own. I don't need a man. My child doesn't need a father. I'm his or her father. And I think that damages the child a lot. And I also think that it puts a substantial amount of pressure on the mothers. And some of them have to do that. Some of them have to be the mother and the father. But I think it should be conversations had where, well, first, people don't know about systematic oppression, structural violence, and all that stuff. So I think that our people have to be taught that, because if they're falling into America's stigma about Black fathers, I would say.
Right.
I lost my question.
Yeah, and I can definitely relate to that. We definitely structuralists. We understand, about structural violence and how it has negatively impact Black fatherhood since coming onto these shores. It's been against the law to be a good black father. You know, it was coming through chattel slavery when your children could be taken from you and sold and abused before your eyes, murdered. You know, it definitely put a stigma there, and even between the union relationship that it was illegal. You know, so we hold on to traditions like jumping the broom at weddings, and we still carry that tradition today because it was illegal at some point. And I think to be honest, I think it's amazing that black men are stepping up and being fathers in their children's life. Not that. Let me say this. Let me back up. I'm not saying it as if it's a thing that's over the top, super extraordinary, because you're supposed to be there, right? We're supposed to be there. The people that aren't there, like myself, when I went through incarceration and things of that nature, that's the anomaly. That's the thing that should not be done. Being a parent to your child, whether it's residential or non-residential, that's the thing to do. But with that being said, I think that overcoming a lot of challenges that have been thrown at us over the time, I just see some people doing some remarkable stuff, and I'm happy to see that. I'm very happy to see it.
What you guys got going on now is like unheard of, especially in Delaware. This is remarkable, man. Father and son. I remember the first time I seen Out of the Ashes. I'm like, wow, you guys are keeping it moving, man. Like this is it. This is it, man.
And it's had the same impact. Year one was in 2015.
That long?
Yeah. Shout out to RAMG for shooting our very first video of Out of the Ashes. We've been doing this for a minute, and but we went that same year, so we did the first presentation. Then we shot over to we went on over to California to Fatherhood and Families Coalition of America's conference, and we did the presentation. We only supposed to do it one time, and we blew them away. And then they said, do it again. And then they said, do it again. We did it like 3 different times there. I mean, it was amazing, man. It was an amazing experience, man, because people could definitely resonate. The presentation resonated with people, and they could identify with it. And we meeting, OGs, Chicanos, and all different people, jokers just coming home from the penitentiary doing 25 years and 30 years and all different walks of life, man, and we all got the same challenges, man, that we dealing with. So, Out of Ashes has been very rewarding to me, man, and most importantly, man, is just being able to do this with my son.
Yeah,
seriously, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, this is cool.
Some good stuff. Y'all got some gold here, man.
Yeah,
definitely got some gold.
I want to take it back to your younger years, right? You said some of your role models was like the hustlers, right, in the neighborhood. Did any of them ever give you any advice on like being a man? Like, do you remember any specific talks? Like, anybody ever pull you up and say, yo, like, this is how you're supposed to carry yourself. This is what this looks like. This is what fatherhood looks like. Did you ever have any of those real life conversations with them?
Oh, definitely. I definitely had some good old heads out there that taught me a lot of good things and instilled a lot of values in me. So I say the streets wasn't always bad to me. I learned a lot of the stuff that I carry with me now, as far as values and morals. I learned them from the streets. I'm gonna be honest. I learned just how to be a straight stand-up guy. Be transparent. Stand on your word. Don't do any backbiting. Those are all the things I learned from the streets.
Yeah.
And it transfers over to all of this. I didn't learn all bad things from the streets.
Right.
I also got some good attributes.
Transferable skills.
Yes, sir.
Principles.
Give us your favorite fatherhood story, man, because you were a young father, right? You started out young. Give us your favorite story, man, about raising your daughters.
It's a couple of them. One time, I don't do any cooking and stuff, right? So my oldest daughter, she cooks. So all right, I was trying to make some chicken salad or something. So I'm making the chicken. I'm doing all this stuff. So I'm just doing all that, and I put the eggs in the microwave, So around the time we was staying on 27th, there's a lot of shooting going on. I heard pop, pop. Went grab the kids, put them on the ground. I'm doing all this. My daughter was like, Dad, they not shooting. It's eggs. I told you don't put them in there anyway. I'm like, oh man, I felt so crazy.
Wow.
But it's a couple of them. We been in New York and just seen the Big Apple and just so many things they just exposed them to that, I wasn't exposed to as a child by my father. It's just like,
Yo, ain't that dope though, man?
yeah, it's definitely dope, man.
Ain't that dope? Just doing stuff with your kids, man.
Just thinking about it making me smile. You hear me?
Yeah.
Like, for real. I had them this weekend too, and
Yeah.
I just bought the crib, and
Congratulations,
congratulations,
thank you. It's theirs already, so they like, this is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they just like super, super excited, and we had a talk where like they remember when I was in the streets, I was hustling and things like that. They remember when I went to school and graduated. So being young and having kids is not always a bad thing because they seen my growth and they like it can happen.
Yeah.
So now I have a couple businesses and things, so I'm teaching them about the businesses. I'm teaching them that your father's at a different point in life now, and we need to learn these things because something can happen to me today or tomorrow. We own property, we got businesses, and we need to learn how to keep these.
That's right. You setting a hell of an example, man. I'm thinking, you know what I mean, when you talk about the property, I'm thinking about, that's how, you transfer that wealth. Majority of the wealth in the United States is passed on through real estate, right? And you buying that crib and being able to pass that on to your daughters, you know what I mean? Hopefully you be able to have more, you know what I mean, in businesses and things of that nature, man. That's amazing, man. That's beautiful, man. And
Thank you.
you're definitely doing the right thing and teaching them how to manage that, letting them know, and you know what I mean, and I'm glad they feel that ownership. You know what I mean? That is theirs. You know what I mean? Because I know that you're doing it for your babies, man, for yourself while you're here and your babies after you're gone, man. Yeah.
What's some of the stuff y'all do to bond? I know you said, with the cooking and y'all just went to New York. What's some of the other stuff y'all do to bond?
We talk a lot. My daughter's on FaceTime bed. We just hang out. We watch movies. We freestyle together. They like rapping. They creating songs. They constantly on their YouTube pages. And
Oh yeah.
just making all types of slime and crazy stuff that those kids make. So we just in the house type of people and just make it happen.
Just
They
doing stuff, right?
Yeah, just doing stuff. They on YouTube bid, so we probably got 1 million on YouTube videos out there, daddy daughter stuff and all this. So my daughter said to me the other day, she told you her birthday's coming up. She want to do a photo shoot with me, her sister, and myself. So they want to do some type of like king and princess stuff, and I'm gonna let them just do the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we gonna rock out like that.
Nice.
Dope.
Yeah. So it's just the time, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So you got in. What's your parting words that you might have to the people out here listening to this podcast, missing dad? What would you have? What would you want to leave them with? Talking about fatherhood.
Talking about fatherhood. Okay, I have a couple things. It's tied into the work I do. I know that incarceration affects more than just the person incarcerated. It affects the children, the whole communities, and for real, when I'm looking at it, it's a pattern. If your parents have been locked up, you have a great chance of seeing the penitentiary or being involved with the legal system. So I do a lot of legislative work down in Dover, criminal justice reform with the campaign for criminal justice reform with the campaign for smart justice. So I encourage everyone and their loved ones and whoever to really look at these bills that we got in. We got six main priorities that we're working with: fines and fees and driver's license, because oftentimes individuals get these fines and fees and with court costs, and they can't pay them. They send them back to jail for capiases. They suspend their license, so they won't be able to make it the job. There's so many just barriers that people face just for living in poverty and not, having the funds to do so. The second one is data collection. We need a data collection state. Delaware has to be a data collection state. They don't release any information. We don't know who's being charged with what color they are, how much time they get in, so we can see some of those disparities within the criminal justice system.
Right.
Those things have to be looked at. And even about this list right here, our intentions are good. We don't have any malicious intent, but we need this data collection to see if these things are working.
Right.
Because we're not God and we don't know what's going on. So I think that's definitely a must. In sentencing reform, we have a lot of mandatory minimum time that's going on where it's just taking the discretion out of judges' hands. So a person can get caught their first time college student, and they might have did a break, stole a car or something, or
Mm-hmm.
did a robbery, and the judge has to sentence them to 2 years. This child has never been in trouble in their life. Maybe you never know what their situation is.
Right.
So this would bring more discretion into the judge's hands. They can handle it more on a case by case basis. And probation reform is a big one. 10%. Probation drives 10% of rearrest in Delaware, and I think our probation situation is way outdated, and we can receive more social services and reentry services during the probation process. So this is it's not any legislation. We're not writing any legislation on it. We're actually doing research and doing this report to figure out the drivers of mass incarceration and sort of create a policy report to get policies out of and sort of push them going
Okay.
on. And the fifth one is treating children like children. I was a child that was charged as an adult, so I know the circumstances of doing time, being a juvenile in an adult facility, and I know how. I told you, I came home. I wanted to be a kingpin. I was around all the biggest drug dealers in Delaware, and I came home and I wasn't a kingpin, but I was involved. I was definitely involved. So treating kids like kids, if you're at a certain age, you're very impressionable, and you're doing kids a dissatisfaction by putting them with older people that may corrupt or contaminate their minds. And the last one is pretrial reform, because we have people sitting in jail for low amounts of bail just because they can't pay them. So yeah, that's our six priorities for there. So I encourage everyone to really, if you really want to get involved, we have to stop mass incarceration. They're
right.
locking us up at an alarming rate. They're breaking up homes. We are not properly represented in our communities on the legal aspect. We don't have many black lawyers or judges here in Delaware. We don't have big business in Delaware as far as banks and things like that that's ran and owned and operated by African Americans. We have broken families within our communities. We don't have proper political representation, real representation of real people from these
Real
communities.
representation.
So I encourage everybody and their mom, their dad to look into these policies, look into criminal justice reform, get involved get involved with these elections that are coming up, because they matter. They affect you. And if we elect the right people in, they pass the right laws, we can get some of this stuff passed. So I would say, call your legislators, call your state senator, call your state representatives, and tell them vote yes on these priorities. Show up the legislative hall on our lobby days when these things are in committee. Come testify. Let those individuals know how the criminal justice system, the legal system, affected you guys and why reform should happen. So we can leave them on that tip. And I also wanted to give a shout out to the Game Changers program. It was a program that was grown out of the Campaign for Smart Justice. I was just telling Amar and Coley that we would go down there, and I would testify a lot in these committee hearings about these bills and why they should be passed. But it was only me and a couple other people. It was like the same three people going down there. So I'm looking like, okay, we got good black and white people that's saying, yes, criminal justice reform, make that happen. We also got good white and black and all types of people saying, lock them up, throw away the key. We don't even want to hear it.
Right.
But what I didn't see is people like us, black men from those that has been impacted by the legal system, and women and white men and white women that have been impacted by these issues, talking and just telling their narrative, not letting anyone else control the narrative. And I was just down there today, and from many legislators, I heard that it worked.
Right.
That this stuff works. So Game Changers is born out of that. They were local influencers here in Wilmington, people that were already doing the work and in their community that had a big following, and they were just like all in. They were
Nice.
all in. So when legislative session was over, they're like, okay, what do we do now? We're just going to see our way to the next one. So we took the things to our own hand. We LLC the Game Changers advocacy program, and sort of went all in. We gave out a survey to the people in the community, and the biggest thing that we seen was youth engagement. So now we have a program called Disconnect to Reconnect. We have 17 youth that are involved with the program. So we're
Nice.
so they're all centered in the city of Wilmington. So we're basically working with social and emotional learning, trying to address some of the trauma that these teens face using restorative practices and things like that, and just building relationships, trying to make them the best human beings they can be, and also exposing them to that entrepreneur side, professional side, and social activism side, so they can pick whatever they want to
Nice.
prototype businesses or ideas that they want to do and put them into full action, because they know, just like we know, the issues that are in our community, and these ideas become better for them because we're older and they're going to be living this. They're going to be living in Delaware
Right.
while all these things happen. So the goal is to empower them to be the best humans they can be, the best successful humans they can be, and they also get paid for it.
Yeah, man, we want to thank you, Dubar, man, Doobie, for coming in here. First of all, for doing the work that you do, for helping fathers get back in their children's lives and helping people to stay with their children and helping to raise up strong children in the community. Man, we appreciate you for that, man. We love you. We're blessed and fortunate to have you here, man. And I'm just happy. I'm over here smiling. I'm overjoyed, man. I'm glad to see you here, man. So this is Coley Harris.
And Amar Melton.
Thank you for listening to Missing Dad.